Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the mind of the brilliant 11th century Persian polymath, Avicenna, also known as Ibn Sina. We're going to ascend his ultimate ladder of knowledge by exploring his absolute masterpiece, the monumental encyclopedia known as the Book of Healing, or Kitab al-Shifa. Now, right off the bat, I have to point out an incredible irony here. If you were to pick up a massive, multi-volume encyclopedia called The Book of Healing, you'd probably expect it to, fix a fever or a broken bone, right? Well, you'd be entirely out of luck. It's kind of like opening a first aid kit and finding a dense philosophy textbook inside. There is absolutely zero medicine in this text. Avicenna actually wrote a totally separate, incredibly famous medical text for that, called the Canon of Medicine. So that begs the question, what exactly is he healing here? To figure that out, we're going to walk through the 4 wards of his metaphorical hospital for the mind. We'll cover a cure for the soul, logic, nature and the flying man, mathematics, metaphysics, and finally, the uncaused first cause.
All right, let's jump straight into part 1, a cure for the soul, healing the disease of ignorance.
Likely started around 1014 and published in 1027, Kitab al-Shifa, which was actually known in the Latin world as sufficientia, was formulated as a very specific kind of medicine. Its target wasn't physical health at all. It was entirely focused on curing the human soul of the disease of ignorance. Avicenna deeply believed that by grasping the true nature of reality, our souls could achieve ultimate, eternal happiness. But to reach those intellectual heights, you really need a rigorous, structured regimen. Which brings us to the first step of his treatment. Part 2, Logic, the essential tool for philosophy. You see, Avicenna didn't think of logic, or almantique, as just a dry, boring set of rules about winning arguments. Building on Aristotle's work, he viewed it as a dynamic vehicle for discovery. Listen to this. He wrote that the whole point of logic is figuring out how it is possible to pass from the known to the unknown. It's literally the precise mechanism that lets our minds take what we already know and build a sturdy bridge to discover things we don't yet know. Think of logic as the immune system for human thought. Just like your physical body fights off viruses, a strong, healthy grasp of logic protects your mind from the disease of logical fallacies, bad arguments, and false conclusions. Once your mind is properly immunized against making errors, well, then you are finally ready to observe and analyze the world around you. So let's look at that world. Part 3, Nature and the Flying Man, exploring the physical world and the soul. In his incredibly vast section on the natural sciences, Al-Tabiyyat, Avicenna explores everything from cosmology and earth sciences to botany and zoology. But honestly, the most celebrated part of this section is his study of psychology, or al-nafs, the soul. He breaks the soul down into a very specific hierarchy. First, you have the vegetative soul, which handles basic growth and nourishment. Next up is the animal soul, responsible for movement and sensation. And finally, sitting at the top is the human, or rational soul, which grants us our intellect and moral discernment. Now, Avicenna wanted to prove something truly radical, that this rational human soul is completely immaterial. It is not part of the physical body. To prove this, he came up with what is now his most famous thought experiment, the flying man, or al-rajul al-mu'allaq. I want you to try this with me right now. Imagine you are created in this exact moment, fully formed as an adult, but you're suspended in a total void. You have absolutely no sight, no hearing, no smell. Your limbs are spread apart so you can't even feel your own body or the air brushing against your skin. Total sensory deprivation. In that complete physical emptiness, would you still know that you exist? Avicenna's answer is a resounding yes. He argued that a person in this void wouldn't doubt the affirmation of their own self. You wouldn't know you had a hand, or a heart, or a brain, but you would undeniably know that you exist. You would still possess the concept of I. The profound takeaway here is that if you can be entirely aware of your own existence without being aware of your physical body, then your self, your rational soul, must be something entirely independent of your physical form. It is a stunning proof of the soul's immateriality and immortality, and it predates Descartes' famous "I think, therefore I am" by over 6 centuries. Moving right along, up the ladder, Part 4, Mathematics, organizing the world. For Avicenna, numbers weren't just abstract ideas. They were the essential tools for decoding reality. He categorized mathematics into the classical quadrivium: arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and music. But true to his genius, he didn't stop there. He went even further, subdividing these into highly advanced fields for his time, like optics, fluid mechanics, and the meticulous creation of astronomical tables. You see, mathematics, or al-riyadiyat, acts as the structural framework. Once logic heals our minds of ignorance, and we understand our physical nature and immaterial souls, mathematics gives us the rigorous organizational code we need to actually map and comprehend the material universe around us. And that prepares us for the grand climax. Part 5, Metaphysics, Essence and Existence. Everything we've learned so far has been a warm-up for this exact moment, metaphysics, or al-ilahiyat. This is the absolute pinnacle of the Book of Healing. At the core of his metaphysics is ontology. This is the philosophical study of being qua being. So we're not studying specific things anymore, like rocks or planets or humans. It's a deep investigation into existence itself. What does it actually mean to be? Here is where Avicenna completely revolutionized philosophy. He made an absolute hardline distinction between essence and existence. Essence, or mahia, is simply what a thing is. Think about it. The essence of a horse and the essence of a unicorn are both perfectly valid concepts in your mind. But existence, wujud, is the fact that a thing actually is in reality. A horse has existence, a unicorn does not. A created thing's definition does not magically guarantee it will pop into reality. Its essence is completely neutral. Because essence doesn't guarantee existence, Avicenna categorizes literally everything in the universe as a possible existent, mumkin al-wujud. You, me, the stars, that horse in the field, we are all possible existence. We only exist because some external cause brought us into reality. But logic dictates that an endless, infinite chain of possible causes is impossible. It has to anchor to something eventually. It must anchor to a necessary existent, wajib al-wujud. This is a unique entity whose very essence is existence. It doesn't just have existence, it is existence itself. For Avicenna, the concepts of the existent, the necessary, and the one are deeply intertwined at the very bedrock of reality. By intensely analyzing this primacy of being and how everything must eventually tie back to a single source, he brilliantly sets the stage for his ultimate theological argument. Which brings us to the final ward of our hospital. Part 6, the uncaused first cause, the proof of the truthful. He calls this logical culmination the proof of the truthful, or burhan as-siddiqin. If the universe is made entirely of possible existences that require a cause, you just cannot have an infinite regression of dependencies. It's like a chain hanging from the sky. It can't just be links all the way up forever. You must hit bedrock. You must culminate in an absolute, uncaused first cause. And this singular, simple, and entirely immaterial necessary existent is what we call God. So how does everything else actually come from this first cause? Well, it happens through a process called divine emanation, or el-faith. Because this first cause is perfect, eternal, and perfectly contemplates itself, reality just cascades and flows outward from it, almost like light effortlessly shining from the sun. It's a continuous, generous outpouring of existence that gives life and reality to all the possible existence we see around us. And that brings us to the top of Avicenna's ladder. From curing the mind with the immune system of logic to the wild isolation of the flying man experiment, all the way to uncovering the necessary existent that anchors all of reality. I want to leave you with this thought. As a possible existent yourself, graciously granted reality by this grand chain of divine emanation, where do you fit into this brilliant 11th century framework? What is your essence, and what will you do with your existence? Keep exploring, and I'll see you in the next explainer.